all together, so we're going to bring them out together. Please welcome Alison, Brie, and Emmy nominee Dave Franco.
Thank you guys so much for coming out.
Finally, 8 months after Sundance, what does it mean for you to finally be showing this to the masses?
I mean, it's a dream come true. Like at every stage of this process, like it just feels like a newer dream has come true. Getting these two involved was a dream come true. Making the movie was a dream come true. Same with Sundance, then our other festival screenings, and now that it's out and available for people to be watching, it's amazing, you know. I lost my phone 24 hours ago. And it is the worst time of my fucking life to have lost my phone. Like, my first movie's coming out. I want to see what's happening. It's like, sorry, no phone for you, dickhead.
Well, this is what's happening right here. Would you all think it's really David, you've been everywhere promoting this movie. I follow your socials. I follow Leon's socials. I mean, this is how you really get behind an independent movie that really needs that kind of attention. But like now, this is what it means to have it out and for people to see the film. What does it mean for both of you that it's out now?
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's like we're not being forced to go everywhere to promote this thing. We're doing this because just for so long now we have been killing ourselves for this movie, and we love it so much, and we're so passionate about it. And it is a smaller movie coming out in the middle of summer against these giant tentpoles, and we want to make sure that people can see some original movies on the big screen. And we fucking love you guys for being here.
Thank you guys so much.
And I can say, watching a crowd like this, I was sitting right up over there, and seeing the bathroom stall when they were trying to. Everyone's like, ooh. So in terms of your inspiration, like what were some of the movies that inspired you?
The movies that kind of inspired me, definitely like, obviously you can't make body horror without thinking The Shadow of Cronenberg, kind of, you know, looming large. Definitely The Thing is in there. I mean, having an opening, kind of cold open with some dogs in peril was very much kind of Thing inspired, and I listened to a lot of Ennio Morricone score for that. I keep bringing this movie up because it's kind of occurred to me in hindsight, which is Star Trek First Contact, which is a movie that I loved as a kid.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
And it was actually like after making the film that I just rewatched it because I love that movie, and I just like realized that, oh shit, this is like a crazy body horror movie that I used to watch all the time as a kid. Like it begins with Picard getting a needle in his eye, and then like a spider crab like bursts out of his skin, and then they keep like taking human flesh and putting it on data and like turning him on. It's like really sexual and gross and weird. And I was like, this is changing something in me. Also, like in my Shyamalan films, the way he directs camera was something that I was really kind of conscious of with coming up with some of these sequences.
Well, you know, Dave, Alison, you're not just actors, you're producers as well. What was it the first time you read the script, the first conversations you had with Mike?
We were initially just blown away by the horror set pieces, which just felt so innovative, like nothing we'd ever seen before. And then so I was the first one to read it, and I turned to Alison, and I just figured that our real relationship would lend itself really well to these characters in the movie who have been together for over 10 years, and hopefully when you're watching this on screen, you can kind of feel a little bit of history and a weight to that relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the build of the set pieces was so beautiful and cool, and the way that it all tied back to the central themes of the movie and to this relationship story and fears of monogamy and toxic codependency and things like that. I think that like one of the reasons why I love horror as a genre is that you can explore these really relatable themes, but then take them to these insane places and use these, you know, very graphic visual metaphors to kind of explore these topics that people hopefully leave and kind of like, you know, are thinking about things in their real life. And I feel like all of the horror set pieces in this all fueled those themes and that examination. Nothing's arbitrary or just like, you know, it all is showing kind of this couple and their struggle.
It really is amazing how, like, when I saw it for the first time, and this was expecting this fun sort of body horror type movie, but all the metaphors and the outdoors for the like the rope to walk? How did you sort of like stay on target with that?
Honestly, I was just kind of like following my instincts, and as I've only ever kind of written comedy before and worked in the comedy space before, and then when I sat down to write this, I kind of thought like, I'm gonna make the most serious, fucked up horror movie ever. And then as I'm like writing it, I'm like, oh no, this is like there's humor here, and I kind of like was letting myself, I was getting my own way and just kind of resisting my natural instincts, which is to kind of go for the joke. Particularly as the film gets on and the premise kind of reveals itself more and more, it's so absurd that I think to have shied away from the joke would have kind of been more inauthentic, because the comedy hopefully comes from just like a realistic reactions to what this insane situation would be. Like, if I had just cut my body apart with my partner, I would need a snack. Like, honestly, I would. Like, that wasn't even me writing as a joke. It was like, well, logically, that's what you would do.
And some of the humor does come from, you know, these in a long-term relationship, couples, they bicker, and even when they're in the craziest scenarios, it's like, her character's like, why do you have a lighter? And I'm like, our bodies are fucking fusing, like, we have bigger issues.
But you're also bringing this element where you're elevating each other as actors, because it is such an intense shoot. It's also a very intimate shoot. Like, what kind of prep did you do going in that made you, like, sort of evolve the screenplay even further from when you were finished writing it?
Just like 13 and a half years of hardcore prep living with this guy. It was the long game. No, I think that like in our talks with Shanks about the script and about this couple, we always just wanted to make sure that there was love underneath and that you could feel a basis of love. And we knew that like our personal love and our history would bleed into that of the characters. But like, you know, to Dave's point about the bickering or whatever, it's like any couple, obviously this couple is not in a good place for a lot of the movie, but any couple that's been together over a decade, there is a love there, there's gonna be a mutual respect, and you're gonna wanna watch this couple also start to work together as they're facing these challenges, to put it mildly, within the movie, you know, so that by the end you are kind of rooting for them. So I think that any of our notes character-wise were sort of all about that undercurrent of love, and also making Dave's character less of an asshole.
Because he started off as very much an arsehole. He started off very much as a self-deprecating, self-loathing, like, oh, this is who you are, Shanks, you piece of shit. It's kind of like riding how bad of a guy that I am, and then, yes, you two were very wise to be like, we lighten him a little.
Yeah. And like tie it back to his trauma, so like we understand why Tim is in a rut, and that, you know, maybe we can sympathize with him a little bit.
And in terms of just preparation, this shoot was very quick. We shot this in 21 days, and we knew every day that we were only going to get 1 or 2 takes per setup. And so, you know, the fact that we were living together was very beneficial, because we could rehearse as much as we wanted, and so we could really kind of hit the ground running every day. But you know, it was hard sometimes, where I remember at the very end of one day we were shooting the train station scene where I have kind of a panic attack, and Shanks comes up to me and he's like, I think about 1 take of this, and him telling me that gave me a panic attack, and I said, roll the cameras, let's fucking go, and so I was able to infuse it into that scene. But it was it was tough sometimes.
But also what Dave's leaving out is like, because we're producers on this movie, and it's an independent film, you know, you are problem solving constantly in real time. So 5 minutes before Dave learned that he only had 1 take, we were actually stepping 50 feet away onto like a grassy knoll to be on the phone with one of our other producers, learning that we might be losing a location, and sort of being like, no, the party scene cannot be a barbecue during the day. Like, it doesn't, it's a nighttime, it's a going away party, that location doesn't work. Okay, we can scout it Tuesday. What's that? They're set ready to go, and Dave has 1 take. Okay, great, we gotta go buy action. Like, it was just like, that was the switching of hats that was happening in real time on this. But I think it worked out.
Yes. Michael, back up a second. 21 days. I mean, that's 3 weeks. That's not a lot of time at all. Like in terms of what kind of challenges did that really short schedule bring for you?
Well, just that we, as you guys were saying, we just didn't have that much time. But what we did have though was passion, and we had preparation. I think the three of us were all just really prepped. And even though this was a short period of time to make this film, from my perspective as an indie filmmaker who's only kind of made shorts and a couple of little series in Australia, this was more time and resources than I ever thought I was going to have access to. And that just meant that it was a sprint, but I was still kind of overwhelmed with the fact that this was a production where I didn't have to like make the costumes myself, you know? If there needed to be a prop, I didn't have to bring it to set, somebody else would do it. So I think from maybe more experienced filmmakers, it was probably more of a sprint, but for me it was like, oh my god, this is happening, kind of thing.
And from a performance standpoint, it was actually kind of really freeing and like adrenalizing to know that we had one take. You know, there just wasn't time to overthink anything or get too precious about anything. And again, because we had been talking about these characters with Shanks for like a year before we shot the movie, and Dave and I could talk, the night before, troubleshoot any things character-wise. So once you were on set, it was like, rip the band, get shot out of a cannon. What other analogies are there for like going fast?
Hit the ground running.
Yeah, it was exhilarating.
But also, you guys like have done so many independent films, some of them together, and you've done so much TV where you don't have the luxury of shooting things over and over again. So that must have really helped you with this.
Oh, definitely. I mean, at this point, Dave and I, especially from a producerial standpoint, we've worked on a lot of indie films that have gone a lot worse. I don't speak for Dave there, but I've certainly been on some very small projects where we had a lot of other issues that we were dealing with. Shanks was this incredible fucking asset, the most prepared first-time director. It sounds ludicrous to even call you a first-time director because you have so much experience creating your own things, and like, it's what you said about preparation, and we had an incredible crew. I mean, an incredible DP. Everybody was working together so well, and it just, I think that preparation really helped.
And just a quick shout out to Shanks. Part of the reason that some of the VFX look so great, and that we were able to get away with that with a really small budget is because Shanks has an extensive VFX background, and he did 150 of the shots himself while he was editing the rest of the film.
Yeah, it wasn't my intention when we were trying to set this film up. I wasn't like, I'll do all the effects, but it just when the rubber hit the road, there wasn't enough budget, and I was not going to cut the shots. And that, I think, is that really like indie kind of YouTuber kind of DIY filmmaker kind of quality of just like, no, I will make this work. And the truth is, I love doing visual effects. So I would kind of pick up a stink like, ooh, I have to work on the weekend, but secretly I'm like, this movie's looking so much better now. Like it's so rewarding. Like you sit in a room kind of by yourself, and you start with this shot that doesn't work, and by the end of the day it works, and you go, I just made that movie just a little bit better. And it's a really exciting process if you're boring.
And Shanks, is it true that some of those visual effects were putting in pubic hairs for Dave's prosthetic penis?
Oh, yes. So the way
That was not my dick.
Prove it!
Do I wish it was a little thicker? Yes.
Welcome to 151 VFX show. The way that penis rig worked is it's essentially like a dildo stuck on some bicycle shorts. And so in post, I had to remove the bicycle shorts and make that look like skin. And so it was me frame by frame, just cutting out Dave's penis, like adding some pubic hair and stuff, and then just. Whilst I was doing that, I was like, see, Mom, I've made it. I'm a big Hollywood guy.
Let's talk about the prosthetics and the scenes where it's not visual effects and your bodies are stuck together. What you use?
Goo. No, we used cool prosthetics made by our prosthetics guy, Larry.
It was about roughly each time, like 3 hours putting it on in the morning, and then There was one day where we were attached with the prosthetic for the saw scene, and that was for the entire day. And we were trying not to drink too much water to avoid frequent bathroom trips, but it happens. And one of us would go and drag the other one with us. And I remember at one point she was peeing, and I was standing over her, attached to her, looking down at her. And we said we could not have made this movie with anyone else.
He said, standing over her, looking down at her, and someone in the audience went, ugh. I'm offended. I'm offended.
Well, if you remember about that day, though, that was pretty early on, like day 3 or 4, I think. I think so, yeah. And that was like, it had been going well at that point already, but that was the day, I think, when everybody in the crew sort of realized that we were maybe making something special. But that was the day where we had this crazy scene, this crazy prosthetics, and it was just you two just acting. We ran the scene top to bottom, and every time people were stifling laughter behind the camera. It was just like, it was a day where I think it was just all singing. We had prosthetics, we had incredible performers, we had just this tight little scene, and I don't know, it was really joyous. I think everybody thought, oh, this is going to be the best scene of the movie. And then we felt that way a couple more times throughout the production. It was so much fun.
It was fun getting to work with prosthetics and practical effects for a lot of the scenes because, we had something real to react to. And that day, yes, we had to go to the bathroom together, but also it was extremely claustrophobic. Like, we couldn't separate even inches because we didn't want to damage the prosthetic. And Dave was strapped to the chair and I'm sitting on his lap all day. That was another weird challenge that does add to the scene and the tension between those characters.
Also good that we were a couple for that scene, because with anyone else, it's like, you have anyone straddling you for 10 hours, it hurts.
You mean not straddling, it's more like my full weight sitting on your lap
Sure.
for 10 hours.
Sure, but
I feel like the straddling is a piece of cake.
But we could kind of surpass politeness, where I could just be like, babe, I love you, but you're fucking killing me, and you need to adjust your weight.
What about the scene, and you could take us through the scene where you're both being dragged across the floor to each other?
Big scene. So as I said, 21 days to shoot the whole film. So every day we were shooting multiple scenes, but that one hallway sequence, we plotted out 2 entire days for it, because we just knew it was going to be. So that's a huge, that's 10% of the whole thing. It was a bit of everything. There was no prosthetics in that scene actually, but there were we had wire work. We were all being dragged by wires. You had a contortionist double, Alison, and then there's some face replacement on a couple of those shots. But then a lot of it is just we go close on you and you just try and kind of match the movements. And you can't quite do all the things, but it cuts the end pretty
I got a
well.
little close.
You got way
I
closer.
can't do that deep of a
Yeah.
back bend in the doorway, but I can do that other back bend coming out of the hall.
And, go ahead.
Well, and then kind of dragging these guys around with wires, and then at a certain point we had to put dots on your arms and bring out the kind of CGI balls to kind of to get the HDRI references. Cool stuff.
And I'm wrong in saying that when you first see the hands come together and clasp, before we're doing any visual effects, was just us starting with our hands clasped and people just pulling us like grips, pulling our legs apart and we reversed the shot. Yeah.
And then you guys were actually snorting the drugs, which was again, it was so funny to watch.
They weren't drugs. It was a mysterious white. I honestly have no idea what it was, and I feel like midday we were like, sorry, what is this exactly? And the props people were like, we don't know, but it's safe. It's weird and safe.
But there's no faking that. You guys are legit hoovering that stuff up, and everybody just
It
watch
felt
the
weird.
floor, do it again.
It did feel weird. I also like to mention my favorite contribution of mine to the movie, which is during the first half of that scene when Dave's being dragged down the hall, and you see his he finally gets his legs in, his arms in, and you see his shirt start to move. And we were shooting that scene, and Shanks was like, we didn't have any movement in the shirt. Once he lifts up the shirt, we knew we were going to do VFX to see his stomach moving. How can we get the shirt moving? And I was like, hold my beer, and ran in, slid across the floor, and put my hand under Dave's shirt, and the whole rest of my body is off camera, and that's what you're seeing in that shot. Was my hand under Dave's shirt.
Were you drinking beer that day?
Whatever. Don't challenge my process, babe.
But no, this shoot, the entire shoot was very physical, and we were getting injured every single day, just flinging our bodies around in very unnatural ways. And I think about, like, obviously the hallway scene, but the shower scene, that's me fully nude, my character is unconscious, and I'm flinging my limp body against these porcelain walls, and because I'm unconscious, I can't brace myself. So that's me just smacking my face as hard as I can, and it fucking hurt. But we were so excited just about the footage we were getting every day, and we just kind of were looking at each other, and we were like, I can't believe they're letting us do this. And so our excitement just kind of superseded any pain we were feeling.
So the movie premieres at Sundance. A lot of times, especially at Sundance, it's the first time that the cast is really seeing the film, especially with an audience. So, like, I was there, worked very well. What was it like for all of you to show it, to release it to the world for the very first time?
That was a really kind of nerve-wracking and amazing moment for me. I had been really sick that day, so I was like in an emergency room earlier that day. I was like, you're gonna have to go up on stage and introduce this movie. And I'm like, ugh, I had norovirus or whatever it's called. And then, standing in a cinema that was like 2,000 seater, it's the first time this movie's gonna play with an audience. My partner and my mom and my sister had all flown over from the other side of the world. As it began, I just remember holding my partner's hand, just so nervous. And in my other hand, I was holding producer Mike Cowell's hand. We were just all squeezing each other's hands. And then as the first kind of joke got sort of a little giggle, I thought, And then the first scare got a little, and I thought, And it was just like, you could feel it in the room, like it was working. And I was just like, oh my God, yeah, it was just a great feeling.
When you were talking about how, you brought, your own experiences to the film, making it, but then after 21 days of a very intense shoot, where you had to, sort of go to a pretty intense dark place, what did you take away from it together? What did you take away, for you?
From the whole experience?
Yes.
Lots of bruises.
Definitely lots of bruises in your case.
The whole experience definitely made us analyze our own level of codependency. It's high. But I don't know. I think it just reinforced just how much we love working together. I mean, we've done, this is our 5th collaboration now. And I think we needed the previous 4 to kind of ramp up into this one. I don't know how we're going to top this, but it's just something where working with her is my favorite thing for so many reasons. Creatively, she's one of the best actresses working today, so she makes my job very easy in that sense. It's very easy to play off of her, and on top of that, it's like, as actors, our jobs can be very vulnerable. We're really putting ourselves out on a limb sometimes, especially in this film, and so to have her there with me, just to lean on and just to check in with and to keep each other from kind of getting in our own heads, it's invaluable.
Definitely. I also feel like I walked away from the whole experience just feeling so inspired by the process, and inspired watching Michael Shanks and the way that he pursued this strange idea and everybody got behind it. I think it's sort of just like, it is the power of independent film and like exploring new ideas that aren't the same IP that you see reproduced over and over again. It's everyone on the set taking a huge risk. And absolutely, a big part of why we were able to do that is because we had each other on set, and I can say all the same wonderful things, and I love working with Dave. He's my favorite person to be on the set with, and I think, we really believed in Michael Shanks and his vision for this movie, and as a secondary precaution, we trusted each other and knew that we had each other on set, so that enabled us to take really big swings, and it felt incredibly satisfying. I just feel like on an artistic level, I left this shoot feeling inspired in terms of the type of work that I want to continue to do, that I want to write, that I want to create.
All right, so a few announcements. First, as we exit, if you could stay seated, because we got to go to another Q&A break next door, that would really, really help us out a lot. Second announcement is this. So Movies in theaters now. You want to see this movie with a crowd of people.